Is the world of science-based lifting crashing down? Well, the short answer is yes. Soon, nerds like me, and probably nerds like you, will be training exactly like the bros, but in the name of science. The more we learn about science-based lifting, the more bro we are actually becoming. Now, science-based lifters have always had this god complex over the bros. Like, they're better because they're trying to optimize their workouts and we're doing everything we can to get big. The only problem is, it's the bros that are getting big and us science-based lifters are getting left behind. My prediction is that bros and science people will be lifting the exact same by the end of 2026. Now, why is that? Well, because Jeff Nippert himself has built himself a lab where he can test muscle size using ultrasound, he can test muscle mass using DEXA scan, and all of that, and I think he's going to find out that all the science garbage we're spewing now is going to come to an end by the end of next year. But before we do that, we are more than halfway to being just gym bros under the name of science. Let's rewind 5 years to what the science community had us doing, and hopefully the reason I'm still small, not because my genetics suck, it's because I've been doing this for over 10 years. Firstly, we can't lift heavy. Next, we can't train to failure. You should never train to failure. Training to failure is killing your gains. We need to worry about form over everything. Technique is the most important thing. And now we have the stretch revolution, and this is one that has to end, but more on this later. If we look back at those older things, they are now science-based advice. We need to lift heavy. Why? Well, we know in the literature now that lifting heavy actually recruits the fast twitch fibers. Fast twitch fibers are larger than small twitch fibers. Now, we're not moving the weight fast, Pete. How are we recruiting fast twitch fibers by lifting heavy? Well, because the weight is so heavy, we have to try and move it with a fast intention just to move the weight. So to stop the bench press from killing you, you've got to push bloody hard. And it's in that hard pushing that we're recruiting the fast twitch fibers, even though the movement is slow. The thing slowing it down is lifting heavy. Next thing, you should never train to failure. We all know this now, and the only thing we know now is that we need to train to failure to build muscle. So those first 6 years of me lifting light weights and never training to failure, well, I hope that's got a lot of explaining to do, and I really hope that's the reason I'm still small. And obviously form over everything. We know now technique doesn't matter. Jeff Nippert did the study himself looking at technique, cheat reps versus normal reps, all of that, and the answer was it doesn't matter. Well, technique does matter, but not for the reasons you think, and we'll get more into that later. And now my massive gripe with the science community, and this is one of the reasons I've almost wanted to turn against it because of this stretch revolution. People have extrapolated bullshit out of studies that says, oh, we need excessive stretching to build muscle. Now, I know they've come out with more studies that Jeff himself did that says the stretch isn't that important and it doesn't matter, which is great, except for the advice he's still releasing recently. And that is these excessive stretches, mainly on shoulder and biceps. For some reason, Jeff seems to think that, now I'm not knocking Jeff, I'll say that off the bat. His advice is sound, his education is top S tier, but the stretch stuff, he's got it all wrong. Now, with the shoulder, he thinks it's only the deltoid that moves the shoulder. Well, the shoulder is a very complex muscle. Believe it or not, your chest moves the shoulder, your back moves the shoulder, your biceps move the shoulder, and even to a small percent, your triceps move the shoulder. And then you've got all the scapular muscles, which is the other half of the shoulder joint, right? When you are stretching your arm that far across your body to hit your rear delts, you don't hit your rear delts. You hit infraspinatus, one of the scapular muscles, one of the rotator cuff muscles that in that position is under a lot more stretch and a lot more stress and tension than your rear delt, which is why you can't lift heavy doing it. Now, if we look at the angle of the fibers of the rear delt, they mainly kick in. They are in the strongest position to pull your arm back when your arm crosses midpoint. So not only is this fancy science stretch exercise on the pec deck or reverse pec deck sitting on the side not a good rear delt exercise, it barely hits it. Now I know what you're going to say, oh, he's got the EMG studies, he puts the markers on the shoulder. Well, that's great. But there's more than one layer of muscle, and how do you know which one's actually doing the work? Well, the answer is you don't, which is why EMG studies don't actually tell us anything other than something underneath the skin in that area is activating. And Jeff said it himself, his rear delts have actually shrunk, and now exactly the same thing can be said with regards to the lateral delts. It's just a different rotator cuff muscle. Within the first 0 to 20 degrees of shoulder abduction, which is the name of the movement to hit your lateral delt, is done by supraspinatus, another cuff muscle. Your lateral delt's not doing much, so spending hours stretching ridiculously far across your body is not actually hitting the muscle you're after. So we need to go back, and I'm sure with all the testing, when Jeff tests his muscles this time next year and sees everything's growing except for his rear delt, he's going to swap back and go back to doing his C tier, his class, bent over, rear delt flies with dumbbell as C tier. In my opinion, these are A tier. These are hardest exactly where they need to be when you cross the body. Now, they're not S tier because there are things that you can do better, but it's so far wrong. His exercises should be F tier for that. And the reason he's gone into it is by extrapolating data from studies which doesn't exist. Those studies showed the stretch part of a normal range of movement is beneficial for hypertrophy. Not one of them, not a single study showed an excessive stretch will indicate more muscle growth, and he's going to the extreme. Now, Jeff is not the only one guilty of doing this. Dr. Mike, who's well-renowned, a doctor, PhD, is doing the same thing with biceps, and they're all talking together and coming up with the same wrong conclusion. And anyone who's preaching this does not understand muscle contraction. So you have two fibers or two filaments within a muscle fiber that are responsible for the contraction. One is called actin, the other one's called myosin. And if we think about how they work, they sort of overlap, hook on one another, and then pull, right? So in that pulling movement, where we are mid-range, those fibers have got the most surface area. As we stretch and go further apart, we lose surface area contact. Now, this means we are weaker in the stretch position than we are mid-range. And the same thing applies to a contracted position. When we're over there, we're in a shortened position and there's not much in the way of surface area. So if we're doing our bicep curl with a 5-pound weight in that extreme stretch position, and then curling it up to halfway, because anything beyond halfway, you're reversing it and it turns into a tricep exercise, is pretty much useless in my opinion. Well, it is, because you got such a light weight, it's only overloading the stretch position, which isn't that important anyway, and it's overloading the extreme stretch. So where your muscle's the strongest, the strength curve is almost, or it isn't, it is 100% non-active because the weight's vertical to gravity. If we look at a normal bicep curl, easy at the bottom, gets harder at mid-range and easier at the top. The exact same strength curve as a muscle fiber contraction. Now that's every muscle fiber contraction, which is why all the bicep exercises with dumbbells have worked for so many all those years ago and are working for every bro that we see, but we're doing something different. And guess what? Your arms won't grow. They're just not going to grow doing all the stretch nonsense. And I hope with all the research labs we have now, or Jeff has now, to do all these studies, he will finally figure that out. Now, we've spoken about the science side and how that's evolved. What have bros done, right? Bros have gone into the gym, grunted at weights like Neanderthals and lifted them and put shit down again. It's that simple. We want to lift biceps. It's how heavy can I get this weight up to at least almost resemble a bicep exercise. And guess what? It's worked. If we look at how they cheat on their scapular pulls and normal like lat pull downs using the shoulder blades, it doesn't look right. The form doesn't look right. But again, it works. Basically, the science revolution that's happened now, where we shifted more towards the bro side of things, is driven by one individual. Sam Sulek. No one could believe how big this guy got at 21 years old. We couldn't wrap our heads around it. Yes, I know about the PED use and whatnot, but still, it was mind-blowing to everyone. So what did? We studied what Sam did. People saw Sam doing all these stretch partials. So what did? They studied the stretch partial and found out, wait, this actually might work. What did we do with studying form? Sam Sulek's form was atrocious. He wasn't even benching all the way down, yet his chest is bigger than probably yours and mine combined. So what did? We studied form, and guess what? Form doesn't matter. It came back inconclusive, no difference. We looked at his training volume. Jeff did a whole analyzing every single set he did, watching thousands of videos, and he found that he does his triceps so much and it all was meaningless because he just trains how he feels. He goes in there and he loves it and he throws shit around and he gets shit done. And science lifting is now pointing towards going in there, training to failure, which yes is another thing that Sam did. He trains to failure on everything and beyond failure. Science has now shown all the things that Sam Sulek is doing is now quoted as science-based lifting, bar the extreme stretch, which guess what? Sam doesn't do. So it's amazing how 10 years ago, we as science lifters had this alter ego over these bros and just, oh, we're better than you because we're doing X, Y, and Z. And now it's come back around to bite us in the ass because the bros are massive and we're still small, playing around with our 2.5 kilos on lateral raises. But that has got to come to an end. We've got to start throwing shit around, lifting heavy weights. And I think the more we study these bros, because that's all we've done, we've basically been like, right, bro over there, he's throwing weights around like a Neanderthal, getting massive. Science are like, oh, that's interesting. I want to be like you. Let's see if that actually works. Let's study it. And now we're implementing it. So it won't be long before all the stretch bullshit is gone and we are just lifting like the bro lifter from the early 2000s. I can't believe I'm saying this because I thought they were all melons in the gym, not achieving anything. And here's me 10 years down the line looking to lift like a bro. Who, yeah, we were just like, well, he's just throwing stuff around, doesn't even look like a bench press. But now he's massive, I'm not. And I thought I've been doing everything right. Just goes to show we cannot trust the research because research is always changing. What we can trust is what we see, and you need to experiment with yourself. We see bros lifting heavy weights and getting big, so why not try lift heavy weights and getting big? Or let's say you only lift heavy weights, 3 rep range. Why not try 8 rep range, slightly lighter weight, but still pushing hard and still growling at the weights? It might work for you. I am going to program in 1 day of my push-pull legs, 1 each, where I'm just going to go in there and throw shit around. And I've got some programs coming up. I'm still working out the logistics behind it all, and they'll be available to you guys. Hopefully, I said 4 weeks in the last video. I'm hoping around 3 to 4 weeks time. We just need to figure out all the logistics. And I am in the middle of a house move as well, which is throwing a spanner in the works. So trying to sort out a website and a house might be tricky. So I might wait till we move in. Alright guys, well, I hope you learned something from this video, and don't judge your bro throwing weights around. Go and join him, get him to spot you, train past failure, and have an awesome session. And if you want to see what testosterone did for me, check out this video. And until then guys, we'll catch you in the next one.